Hello and welcome to CYC News for the 14th of February 2021 and the 7th of Amshir 1737 AM. I'm Andrew Nara, and in today's headlines, new details emerge about Capital's Day of Terror. Details released of Biden's first call with Xi Jinping. Why Australia's first-class quarantine system has seen breaches. EU's Commission's von der Leyen admits vaccine rollout failures. UAE embassy theft and blackmail leads to security staff in court. WHO backs Oxford vaccine efficacy even if COVID-19 variants are present. And Al Ahly beats Palmeiras to claim third place at the Club World Cup. But first to the United States, where impeachment prosecutors took senators on a wrenching journey inside the horror of the US Capitol insurrection, making a devastating case that Donald Trump had plotted, incited, and celebrated a vile crime against the United States. Their previously unseen video evidence showed a bloodthirsty mob defiling Congress, heroism from overpowered police officers pleading for backup, high-profile lawmakers running for their lives, and staffers hiding behind locked doors. Surveillance footage depicted then Vice President Mike Pence being hustled away with rioters calling for him to be hanged only yards away. A police officer screamed in pain, trapped between a door and an invading crowd. In a horrific scene, Trump supporter Ashley tried to climb through a window smashed by rioters before falling back, shot dead by a Capitol police officer. Lead House impeachment manager Republican Jamie Raskin said, when his mob overran and occupied the Senate and attacked the House and assaulted law enforcement, Trump watched it on TV like a reality show. He reveled in it and did nothing to help us as Commander-in-Chief. Instead, he served as the inciter-in-chief, sending tweets that only further incited the rampaging mob. The stunningly powerful presentation painted the most complete narrative yet of the assault on Congress as it met to certify Joe Biden's election win on January 6th. The explicit and unsettling case made it clear that the terror inside the corridors of power was even more frightening than it first appeared. US President Joe Biden has raised the issue of human rights abuses in Xinjiang during his first call with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. The White House said Mr. Biden also pressed Mr. Xi on trade, the clampdown in Hong Kong, and ongoing tensions with Taiwan. According to the Chinese state television, Mr. Xi warned Mr. Biden bad relations would be a disaster for both countries. Tensions have soared in recent times over trade, espionage, and the pandemic. The China-US relationship is crucial to both sides and the wider world, with Beijing repeatedly calling on the new administration in Washington to improve relations which had deteriorated under Donald Trump. The call came just ahead of the Lunar New Year and what is being seen as a goodwill gesture. After the call, Mr. Biden tweeted, "I told him I will work with China when it benefits the American people." A White House statement later said Mr. Biden underscored his fundamental concerns about Beijing's coercive and unfair economic practices, crackdown in Hong Kong, human rights abuses in Xinjiang, and increasingly assertive actions in the region, including towards Taiwan. China is accused by rights groups of detaining more than 1 million Uyghurs in what is the state called re-education camps in Xinjiang province. There is evidence that largely Muslim minority community is being used as forced labor and of women being forcibly sterilized. Returning home now to Australia, where the country's hotel quarantine system has been an extremely effective first line of defense against COVID-19. The country has largely eliminated the virus, often going weeks without a locally acquired infection. Hotel quarantine is credited as a huge part of that success. But a series of isolated local cases in recent months, all from hotel quarantine leaks, have caused alarm. Since November, 3 cities have entered snap lockdowns on the back of such infections, aiming to halt outbreaks at their source. But how does the virus keep slipping through what officials hail as a world-class first defense? Since March last year, Australia has essentially allowed only returning residents to enter the country, provided they complete a 14-day quarantine, usually in city hotels. So far, over 211,000 people have gone through this quarantine. But if the virus somehow escapes quarantine, the consequences can be severe. Melbourne saw this last July when a quarantined traveller infected a hotel guard who unwittingly took the virus into the community. The resulting outbreak accounts for over 90% of Australia's 29,000 cases and 909 deaths to date. Eventually, after a punishing lockdown, Melbourne's outbreak was suppressed. Inquiries led to better infection prevention and tracing efforts in all states. In particular, hotel quarantine was tightened up. Despite this, further quarantine breaches have caused only Australia's only virus scares in recent times, including in Melbourne once again this past week. Over to Europe now, and the EU was late to authorise COVID-19 vaccines and is still not where we want to be, according to the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. She also acknowledged that the EU had been overconfident about production targets being met amid delays in factories. The Commission chief has come under fire for the EU's slow vaccine rollout, and there is anger that the bloc has fallen behind countries like the UK, where more than 12 million people have already received the jab. But Mrs. von der Leyen was adamant that ordering vaccines collectively on behalf of the member states was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, pharmaceutical group AstraZeneca has said it will join forces with German company IDT Biologica to produce more vaccines for Europe. Producers of vaccines, including Oxford AstraZeneca and Pfizer BioNTech, jabs have postponed delivery of some of EU's order because of capacity and supply issues. Security officers appeared in court over the theft of cash and documents from the United Arab Emirates Embassy and £3 million blackmail plot to return them. Lee Herford from Leeds is accused of stealing from the UAE's London Embassy in Belgravia. The alleged offences happened in September 2018 while Mr. Herford was employed there. Co-defendant Dean Manister, the head of security there at the time, also faces charges including blackmail. Mr. Herford, who was employed as a close protection officer in the building, is accused of stealing cash between September 14th and 15th, 2018. He is also accused of stealing paperwork, documents, receipts, and an identity card, and orchestrating a £3 million blackmail plot for the return of sensitive items. Mr. Herford appeared at Southwark Crown Court, where he denied 2 counts of theft, 1 of burglary, and 1 of conspiracy to blackmail. Mr. Manister of Colchester in Essex denies 1 count of aiding and abetting burglary, 1 count of handling stolen goods, and 1 charge of conspiracy to blackmail. The men appeared via video link at the hearing, where a 2-week trial was set to 4th April 2022. They were both granted bail. In some health news, the World Health Organization recommends using the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines even in countries tackling new variants of the virus. Some new forms appear to make vaccines less effective. The WHO also says the vaccine can be used in people aged over 65, which some countries have advised against. It advises spacing out the 2 doses, as is happening in the UK, makes the vaccine more effective. The Oxford vaccine is seen as the vaccine for the world, as it is cheap, can be mass-produced, and is stored in a standard fridge. However, it has attracted controversy about its effectiveness against new variants, whether it should be used in the elderly, and how far apart the doses should be given, due to the lack of data. The WHO's Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization, known as SAGE, has been scrutinizing evidence from vaccine trials. Dr. Alejandro Cravioto, the chairman of the group, said there is no reason to recommend its use even in countries have circulation of the variant. Its interim recommendations say that the vaccine is 63% effective overall. However, early data from trials in South Africa showed the vaccine was offering minimal protection against mild and moderate disease in young people. A variant in the country has acquired mutations that seem to help it evade immunity from vaccines and from previous infections. However, Oxford scientists still expect the vaccine to prevent people from becoming seriously ill with COVID-19 and needing hospital treatment. And in sport, Egypt's Al Ahly equaled their best ever finish at the FIFA Club World Cup by defending South American champions Palmeiras after their third-place playoff ended goalless. captain and goalkeeper Mohamed El Shenawi, and was Al Ahly's hero in the penalty shootout, saving Felipe Melo's penalty to ensure the African champions won 3-2 in Qatar. El Shenawi had earlier saved Ronnie's tame effort, while Luis Adriano missed his target, with Al Ahly also missing through Amn El Souya and Marwan Mohsen. Junior Ajayi thought that he had made a breakthrough in the second half, only for his goal to be narrowly ruled out for offside, while El Soulaya could have done better with a first half effort dragged wide. There was no extra time at the end of the game, meaning the match went straight to penalties. After the game, El Shenawi said, "From the start of the tournament, we all promised that every player will give his maximum effort in good order to achieve the good position. Thankfully, all our efforts paid off and we managed to win the bronze medal." Al Ahly earned widespread praise after a credible performance in an eventual 2-0 semi-final loss to Germans Bayern Munich, and enjoyed great support from the stands thanks to Egypt's sizable expatriate community in Qatar. The record 9-time African champions' previous best performance at the Club World Cup came in 2006, when they also finished third. And that's all for CYC News. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. I'm Andrew Nada, and from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia, see you next time.